Go ahead and say this and then I'll be done. But I want to say one thing. To understand where racism came from, you have to understand the concept of race, right? Race was, and the idea of race wasn't even thought of until the 1400s. It wasn't coined until the 1500s by a white man, okay? So when we talk about race and you taking the definition of racism, right, which was a social construct, which is more going to prove my point. When you take the definition, the Oxford definition of race, whether you take the full or just that part with prejudice, I don't think you understand that you're taking it from people who invented a social construct. They invented racism. You're taking the word and something that they created from that direct source, which is white people. So why would you take the definition of invented by white people? Like, I don't know if that makes sense to you. It's like, I don't know if you see the problem in that. You're using the white version of what racism is. That's what the Oxford Dictionary version is. It's a white version, altered version of what racism is. But I want to ask you a question. Since you think that reverse racism exists, right? I just want to ask you a question. Has there ever been in history a societal-wise movement that has ever negatively created and invented to negatively impact white people?
I never said that reverse racism. I never used the term reverse racism. And by the way, it's not reverse racism. It's just racism.
It's reverse racism.
No,
but
it's racism.
Has there ever, answer my question, please. Has there ever been a societal-wise movement put in place to uplift people of color and oppress white people?
Yeah, what's going on in South Africa right now, actually.
In America.
We'll keep it in the United States.
You said a society. You said a society. You didn't say America.
Okay.
Now you're strongmanning.
Okay.
American
society. We'll keep it in the United States.
America. You said a society.
Okay.
American society.
We're saying it now.
In American society. Please answer my question. In American society, has there ever been a societal-wise movement in an American society that negatively impacted white people and uplift BIPOC community?
No, there hasn't.
Okay.
What does this prove?
Okay, there you go. I made my point.
What does that question prove? What does that question
No,
prove?
I made my point.
All right, okay.
Because that is what racism is. It's not just the dislike of one.
That's what a form of racism is. That's what I just said before. That's not just what racism is. You're narrowing racism down into a specific form when you fail to see that there's multiple forms of racism and that a power dynamic doesn't always have to be involved.
Can I also
One second. My turn to speak. Nick, can you mute?
Nick, stop interrupting. Cut it the fuck out.
Can you mute for a second? So, it is about a power dynamic. All these isms are about a power dynamic. And you want to play semantics with a dictionary, but just on any level of understanding or explaining complex things, we're not going to use a dictionary definition in general. Not in any academic space, not in any space where you're trying to understand something very nuanced, because dictionary definitions are descriptive, not prescriptive, meaning they're not the authority on what words are. They just describe how people may use words typically. So if we were writing a paper about racism, we wouldn't use the dictionary as a primary source. It couldn't be a secondary source. You would have to go to the framework of what racism is, and how you get that research is from people who are experts, have credentials in that field, like sociology and the health department. Not necessarily even the health department, but people who are in the health field, who study how, like, the psychological effects of racism. Neurologists and shit like that. We're not going to sit here and argue over a dictionary definition in the first place if you're not looking at anything else. If I gave you the definition just only had the definition, would you understand from that definition? This is a genuine question to Nick, and then I'll hear from the new guest. And Cozy, we'll get right back to you, I promise. If you only had the dictionary definition of thermodynamics, would you understand what it is, how it's applied, and how it works just from the definition? If you're speaking, Nick, you gotta.
Are you gonna? No. I was wondering if you were gonna let me speak now. That's okay. So, the definition is what I'm talking about, though. That's like the definition is literally what I'm talking about. I'm saying that you're playing semantics and you're trying to change the definition of words. I didn't like. Now you're trying to create a whole nother narrative that that we're not talking about definitions when we literally are. I understand that there's other ways that you can describe like a racism, right, and that you couldn't use definition as a source, but that doesn't negate the fact that that's not what I'm talking about. And so what you said about like scholars and people that actually like study like racism, you're confused. Don't confuse education with intelligence, right? You can have a doctorate in something.
One second. I'll control the line.
Somebody that's a high school dropout could be smarter than somebody that has a doctorate. Like it's education.
We're not talking about one individual.
We're
We're talking about millions of people's experience, as well as decades of research from people who are highly educated in the field, not one person or one study. We're going to put the Twilight Zone.